So, croeso to Wrexham News. I'm Carrie Harper, and today I'm going to be talking to two local campaigners, if I can call you local campaigners.
Yeah.
And you did a lot of work to try and establish an annual event to commemorate COVID, basically, isn't it? I know you've put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
Would you like to briefly introduce yourselves before we get started?
I'm Colette and I'm from Cllr Park.
I'm Julie and I'm from Summerhill.
Thanks both. And I know for a lot of people during the pandemic, life got back to normal afterwards. But for a lot of families, I think, is it 12,300 people died and 43,000 were hospitalised. So for a lot of people, life was never the same after, was it?
No.
So I don't know if you want to talk about your personal experience, Colette.
My personal experience is twofold because I lost my mum in November 2020. Because I couldn't get her in to see the doctor, she got blue lighted to the hospital with sepsis. They couldn't find her for 48 hours. So for 48 hours, I didn't know where she was. To get a phone call with a voicemail left to say that they put a do not resuscitate on her. I had a battle in the hospital to be able to see my mum because at that point we were in our own bubbles. But because we were in bubbles and mum lived with us, I was able to go. Unfortunately, we lost mum on the 19th of November. And once I actually got over the funeral and things like that, I actually requested a copy of her hospital notes to find out that she'd had hospital-acquired COVID.
Right.
And it actually said on her notes, do not inform the family.
Wow. Okay.
Which was a double whammy for us because my granddaughter has an autoimmune disease. So if I'd have taken it back to her, it could have killed her as well. So we are part of the fight to find out exactly what happened and to ensure that it doesn't happen again. But on the flip side of that, I was also working with people who were suffering from mental illness, couldn't get into the hospital, relationship breakdowns and things like that. I was dealing with that as well.
Which I'm
with
sure
my
spiked
job
because of COVID.
It massively spiked.
And your job?
I used to work for ICANN in the hospital.
Yeah.
And we were a social prescribing service. So I would phone people of an evening. At one point we were working with casualty with suicide attempt people. So COVID itself is a double-edged sword because it's not just people who we've lost, it's people who have lost something, be it their mental health, their relationships, their job, anything like that. There is a massive impact of COVID. And people are still now suffering from long-term COVID illness. Yeah. And we need to have this recognised.
Absolutely. I mean, I do a lot with education locally, and we hear from teachers all the time about those children who were affected during the pandemic and the knock-on consequences for their education that teachers are trying to deal with, sort of behavioural issues, sometimes vocabulary, social skills. There's so much, isn't there? Yeah. It doesn't always come to the front of your mind.
Yeah, and it's things that you don't think about. Like you say, they call them COVID babies now because they didn't go to nursery, preschool, things like that. They are having trouble adjusting, but not just that. Teenagers had a massive mental health impact because they were seeing divides in their family. They were struggling to get their education and do their exams, and it has had such a knock-on effect to people that we need to make sure that this is seen and sorted.
And that's part of the request for COVID inquiry.
Yeah.
There's lots of unanswered questions, like the notes you're saying on your notes, medical notes.
I'm not the only person in Wrexham that happened to. There's a fair few in Wrexham that actually happened to. And to say I was shocked is an understatement. It was bad enough having a text message saying that, we've put a DNR on your mum. And I mean, well, Mum, Carrie, before COVID, she was a volunteer with the Salvation Army. She was working with the homeless. She didn't stop. So to just automatically assume that because she's 76, she's past it.
Yeah.
It's just...
That must have been really upsetting.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
Julie, what was your experience personally? Well, I lost my auntie just before COVID to lung cancer, and her husband was on onset dementia. So I was not only a carer for my husband, but I was taking care of him. 3 or 4 times a day I'd be at his house looking after him. He had cancer, prostate cancer, took poorly, didn't want to go into hospital. None of us wanted him to go into hospital because it was that time COVID was starting, and you never knew if anybody was going to come out again. We had to phone to the doctor because he took ill quite suddenly. He went into hospital. He was in there 3 weeks, phoning up every day to find out how he was doing. Yeah, everything was great. He was doing really well. They were actually doing the paperwork for him to come home. And he was going to go to a cottage hospital so they could assess him to see if he could look after himself, because he was on his own, apart from me running back and forth looking after him as his carer. And then I phoned up on the 4th week, on the Monday, had a lengthy discussion with the sister of the ward, asking how things were doing, what's the next step, and everything like that. She said, oh yeah, he's doing really well, we're doing all the paperwork, etc, etc. Carried on phoning up during the week every day. We always phoned every day, me or his other niece, to find out what was going on. To answer the phone and say isolation, sort of like make you step back, hang on a minute, why is he in isolation when he's coming home and he's doing so well? This happened twice, but with no answers. So eventually we did get an answer. He'd been tested positive on the Monday for COVID. During this time I was talking to the sister of the ward that didn't mention anything about COVID, about him being tested or anything.
And this seems to be a theme then.
Yeah, they weren't going to tell us. They didn't even notify. I was his next of kin. They were supposed to notify me everything that was happening each day. Nothing. Didn't get taught. The only reason we found out was because we asked the question and we badgered them, saying, look, you've just answered this phone isolation. Why is he in isolation if he's fine to come home?
Yeah.
And then we had found out the news that he'd got COVID.
Yeah.
That was on the Monday, he tested positive. By the Sunday morning, he'd passed away with it. We couldn't go in and see him. Didn't help that he had dementia. He was on his own. He didn't know anybody. It was heartbreaking. I had to take photos in an album with names so he could see them and remember us, because it was that heartbreaking.
Oh, bless both of you. Just horrific experience, but I'm sure it's one a lot of people will connect with.
Yeah, my uncle in Chester as well, he went in with a stroke. He caught COVID in there too and died a few weeks later. My other uncle, so yeah. So it's been quite close, you know what I mean? So
and being traumatic.
Very traumatic.
Yeah. You can tell by listening to, obviously both of you, that it's still fresh in your mind, even though it was a few years ago now. It's
5 years for me in November, and even now it feels like yesterday, because it was a constant fight. Nobody knew what they were doing. I mean, when COVID first broke out, we were told, wash your hands, double wash your hands. For myself, I was told when I went home from the hospital, strip my clothes off, get in the shower, get fresh set before I even went into the house. And I did that religiously. So from March the 23rd until November the 13th, I kept my mum COVID free. And nobody was allowed anywhere near her, nothing. And then for her to get rushed in with sepsis because of a chest infection, because no doctor would come out and see her. They would just literally doing antibiotics and steroids, which is the other thing that annoyed me, is the fact that I've since found out that in England, doctors' surgeries were open. What they would do is they would have a patient go into one room and be seen, and then the next patient would go into another room while that room was deep cleaned, and that patient would be seen. So they wouldn't see everybody, but they would see patients with illnesses like Mum had. And had that been the case in Wales, my mum might still be here.
This is the part of this inquiry, though, isn't it? Because there's going to be lessons learned across the board. There might have been things done well in Wales, Scotland, or England, things not done so well. And understanding what's gone wrong where, isn't it?
Yeah.
The problem is, though, there was no continuity between England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. We weren't all singing from the same hymn sheet, and that is the biggest problem.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I remember at the time that some would argue that in some ways that was a good thing on some occasions during the pandemic, and others maybe not so much. But that's why the lessons learned and the inquiries are important, so that information could come together. Yeah. And hopefully we never go through something like that again. But if we do, we need to be prepared, and we need to understand what worked and what didn't work.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, everything seemed to be too little too late.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of loved ones died, and a lot of families out there are still grieving.
Absolutely. And like that is why the memorial event is so important to both of you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's not just that it's a memorial event for lost loved ones, but as we were saying when we spoke to Marc last week, we want it to be more a community event, because everybody suffered one way or another, not just losing somebody, but losing something, be it their independence, be it their relationship, their job. You know, those 18 months that we did not know what was going on from one extreme to another has caused a massive impact on everybody, and everybody has the right to grieve that loss that they've had, whether it's a loved one or a lifestyle.
And I suppose there's a comfort in people who've shared that experience coming together.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
I mean, until you got in touch with me, Colette, I didn't know that we had a commemorative woodland in Wrexham.
No, well, I didn't.
A lot of people don't know it exists. Well, so how did you get involved with that project?
Late 2021, early 2022, I got an email from the COVID bereaved families asking me if I would go along to a question and answer event. Basically, the Welsh Government had decided that they were going to do 3 woodlands, one in South Wales, one in Mid Wales, one in North Wales. In North Wales, we're lucky enough that the National Trust and Erddig have actually given us a parcel of land, which equates to 12 football pitches, so it's pretty large.
It's amazing how something that size, there's so many people won't know that.
Exactly.
I mean, I've never walked all around it yet, so completely.
We went to the initial question and answer, and I took Tasha, and they asked us what we wanted from it.
Tasha is
my adopted daughter. So we went and, you know, we gave suggestions like trees, lakes, things like that. Then in early 2023, they did the first tree planting. And we were told that we couldn't have our own trees because usually 5% is lost.
Yeah.
We've been very lucky in the fact that they've only so far lost 1% of the trees.
Oh.
So we started the initial planting, then they did the pathways, then last year we did the third lot of planting, they put the lake in, and then we did the bench painting. So all along we've been involved in what we want, how we want it. We had an event there this year on the 3rd of March, but unfortunately we couldn't make it public.
There's an issue around the formal event. We'll come to that in a minute. I think first of all, I don't know if Julie, can you come in and explain exactly where the woodland is?
Oh, I'm no good with the Welsh. It's
at back of Johnstown.
It's called. It's back of Johnstown, and it's right. The car park for the country park there that you can go to is right opposite.
What we can do is overlay the postcode dates so people let me put this out so they can see the lake.
Easiest way to say is Wrexham Brickyard. It's right by there.
Yeah, it's right.
It's open 24/7. Unlike Erddig itself or Allen Waters, they don't lock the gates. It's open.
There's a large car park.
There's a large car park.
Easy to get to. Yeah, and it's lovely. So you've talked about the tree planting, and those trees, we saw that back in March. You invited me along to the event. Yeah, they're doing really well, and it's beautiful.
It is, and it's serene. It's somewhere Personally, for me, my youngest grandson, he's 5, and he only knew Mum for a little while, and I wouldn't want to take him to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because I think the cemetery is a very cold place. I've taken him there and he loves it because it's somewhere that, you know, especially in the summer days, you can have a picnic if you want. If you want to just go on your own and just reflect, you can go there and just reflect. But the beauty about it is it's the only COVID-19 memorial woodland. The other 2 are just memorial woodlands.
So they haven't used the word COVID?
No.
Why is that?
Because it's common woodland.
Right.
It's not like with Wrexham, they've got involved and they've given us that parcel of land. The other 2 are common woods, so they've only been able to put memorial woodlands. But Wrexham, it does say it's the COVID-19 memorial woodland, and that is so important to keep. And if it's not used, we will lose it.
Yeah, and you were involved, Julie, in organising the event. I don't know, were you involved in the tree planting as well? Or
no, I didn't know about the tree planting. I have contacted her to let me know about the next lot, but still not received anything.
So there's more opportunities for volunteering coming up?
Yes, yeah. So that's something I want to get more involved with, as well as Colette. Because I didn't know much about the woodland. Nothing was seen to be posted up anywhere, or it's been very quiet, so to say.
Yeah. If Colette hadn't have messaged me, I wouldn't have known anything about it.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think I saw the odd post on Facebook maybe, and that's why I knew about it. But other than that, it's not been very broadcast, has it?
No. It's a bone of contention because although it's National Trust land, it's been given grants by the Welsh Government, who don't want it advertised.
How are people going to know it's there then?
But that's the whole point, is they don't want it known. And National Trust are wary to advertise the event, the woodland, too largely. It's on their page.
Yeah.
But it's a very small article on their page, because they don't want to lose the extra funding that they get from the Welsh Government.
Right.
You have to really search for it. I mean, I literally had to just go to Google and search it for it to come up as part of the National Trust.
And that's why the annual event is so important to you as well,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So that people, A, have the chance to come together,
Yeah.
and B, know that there's somewhere locally for them to do that and access actually all year round.
Yes, yeah. You know, if they want to think of their families, or they've lost a loved one, or even if they've not lost anybody, they just want somewhere quiet. It's a lovely place to walk around.
And it was just the event.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Considering we had 2 weeks to sort it out.
to do it, yeah.
But it was beautiful, wasn't it? And people shared, you know, if they wanted to, they shared their story. I read a poem which was beautiful. Colette.
Yes, it was.
It took some doing. It's one thing my mum always taught me, because my mum was an English teacher. To get my feelings out is to either write it in a diary or write poetry. And that's how I do it. And I do poetry for birthdays, anniversaries, and things like that. And it was something. I initially did one poem which I sent to you, but I was told that wasn't appropriate.
Why not? Sorry, I don't know. I thought it was lovely.
Because it's anti-government, picking up on...
Well, look, I think, you know, I've been working in the political arena for quite a while. You're up there for scrutiny. You're a public representative. So you've got to take some criticism sometimes. Like in a situation like this, you've got to understand that obviously people are going to be frustrated with what happened. They're going to want answers. They're going to want explanations. They're going to be annoyed with the government. I think that's perfectly natural, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not unusual.
I mean, it's not just a couple of people that are annoyed. It's thousands of people.
The nation as a whole is angry.
Yes. You know, people want answers. I think, you know, any politician really would be able to understand that and accept that criticism.
Yeah. So I did the second one, started it on the Tuesday and finished it on the Saturday.
And then you weren't sure about reading that out, were you? She sent it to me to see how I thought about it. I said, you've got to do it.
They're both.
You've just...
Absolutely lovely.
Well, thank you, but we'll see if I do another one.
And the event was as well, you know, the flowers being laid down or put in the water. I just think everybody, you could see that event meant a lot to people to come together and mark an occasion.
I mean, that's what we wanted. We want everybody to be able to feel welcome, to come along, and it's just a personal thing that they could just, you know, reflect on.
The frustration though is that you would think we have a COVID memorial Woodland, we have a group of families who want an annual event to remember people they've lost and commemorate that experience. Those two things you would think would come together quite easily. No. But that hasn't been the case, as it might build leads to frustration.
Absolutely not. Welsh Government is saying, the National Trust is saying we can't do it, National Trust is saying the Welsh Government can't do it.
So let's say, just to be clear for people then, you can have an event, but you can't advertise
call it as an event.
Can't advertise it as an event.
It's got to be a commemorative gathering.
And the last event we had, we were only allowed to keep it within the bereaved families group.
Right.
So we weren't allowed to advertise it.
There'll be a lot of people locally affected that aren't in that group.
Exactly. A lot of people want to deal with things their own way. They don't want to deal with the inquiry and what's going on with that side of it. They don't necessarily want to fight. Everybody's grief is individual to each other. The only reason I got involved with it was because of the shock and the horror of seeing my mum's notes. So people who aren't in the group, we're technically not allowed to invite them. However,
it's just silly.
It's very silly.
It's just ridiculous.
It is, but we have been told by the National Trust since that although they can't take part in us holding an event, they have no problem with us holding an event. Which,
as long
to me,
you call it an event.
Unnecessary barriers was something that's actually edged side forward that people would benefit and benefit from knowing about. So, because I know, like I say, I wouldn't have known about it apart from you, Colette. There's a lot of county councillors, I'm sure, who would come and show support, but just wouldn't have been aware of it as well. So I think there's a job of work to do to let people know.
That's the whole point, is we need to get word out there, firstly, that there is the Memorial Woodland there. And that it is open and it is free to anybody, because there's never actually been an official opening.
No.
Okay.
There's been an opening, but there's never been an official opening. You know, where they usually have like the press
openings, isn't it?
But no, there was no. And this is why, once again, they're trying to keep it on the down low, which is annoying us.
So let's, get into the crux of it. Why do you think they don't want this, or who doesn't the Welsh Government?
The Welsh Government don't want their mistakes to be brought to the forefront again, because the inquiry has brought out a lot of mistakes that have been made. If they keep it on the down low, then it's not in people's...
So surely you separate the two things, though, can't you?
They can't, though. They can't. As it stands at the moment, they can't, because the inquiry is still ongoing. We've still got at least another 12 months before the full report comes out. And until that happens, especially with some of the things that have come out in the inquiry, things like these WhatsApp messages that have been deleted and things like that, I can understand their point of view that they want to keep it low-key until the reports come out. But that is not fair.
It's not about them.
Exactly. It's about the families. It's about the public. It's about the people that actually lived it and went through it.
And this is about people coming together to remember people they've lost. The inquiry is important.
But it's a separate issue.
That is a separate issue to an extent.
Yeah.
I can understand why you're so frustrated, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. This is a simple thing.
Again, the other thing is
something in town, isn't it? It's like holding an event in town. You publicise it, and that's it. It's not happening.
It isn't.
I mean, the other argument is the date, because we held our event on the 3rd of March, and I asked the question, why the 3rd of March? And it was like, it's got to be the 3rd of March, because they don't want it on St. David's Day, because initially it was going to be the 1st of March. Why can't it be on the 23rd of March? Because that's the date we went into lockdown. That's the date everybody associates with COVID. It can't be on the 23rd. Okay, so we'll do it on the 3rd of March. 23rd of March comes and we're getting emails from newspapers, everybody, what are you doing as your event for today? So we've had a meeting, as you know, with Marc, and we would like to hold it on the Sunday nearest the 23rd. My feeling is that if we are going to do an event on an annual basis, which we would like to do, it should be the same format really as Remembrance Sunday, the nearest Sunday to the 11th of the 11th.
Is generally what everybody...
It does seem to be the consensus.
Yeah, everybody associates the 23rd.
Yeah,
with
because that is the day that we all went into lockdown. They do.
That was when everybody's lives changed dramatically.
But you'll be organising this event, so
Yes.
you can choose the date.
Yeah.
Well, we are looking at the Sunday nearest the 23rd, which is the 22nd this year. Obviously, we're working with yourself and we're working with Marc to hopefully get council backing so that we haven't got any red tape.
We'll definitely.
And then, obviously, once we know that we can go ahead with it, then it's not even as if we're looking to do a religious service or anything like that. We were thinking maybe a male voice choir.
Luckily.
But people like to just go off and do their own thing.
Just walk around.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said last time when we were there, if everybody would like to just go and have a look around and just gather their thoughts, remember their loved ones. That's what it's all about. It's supposed to be an event where there's no pressure.
Yeah, and it should be open to everybody.
Yeah.
The Woodland is for North Wales, so it should be allowed that everybody in North Wales should be allowed to come to that event.
Yeah.
You know, it would be free to come in. It would be what they wanted to do on the day and how they want to commemorate the effect that COVID had on them.
And that's what we want, is feedback from people that maybe what they would like to see on the day.
So how are people going to feed back? Because people might watch this and not know that your group exists, not know the memorial exists. How can they get in touch?
We are going to be setting up a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Ideally, if they want to feedback initially from seeing this, if you're happy for them to contact you or Marc, we're happy to do that because I know that you would feed it back to us anyway. We are in the process of setting up a Facebook page for it, but we need to get obviously the finer details sorted. And there will be things like, you know, like you're doing this today, we are going to try and get it out there. I'm in university, so I'm definitely going to be getting it out there in uni. Yeah. You're going to be getting it out there in your area. So, you know, we are going to get it out there as much as we can. The problem is that until we know 100% we've got the council backing, that we're not going to have any hoops to jump through, we can't set it in stone.
We'll do our best to help you with that. And if people want to email us for us to pass a message on, it's Cllr Wrecsam with a CS @gmail.com.
Yeah.
So nice and easy. We'll make sure that any messages get passed on to both of you.
That'd be brilliant.
And then next steps, it needs to be an event next year that you can advertise and make sure everybody knows about.
Yeah.
And everybody's welcome to come and enjoy the new space.
And even if they don't want to come next year, go out there, go and see it.
Because it's open.
It's open, yes. You don't have to pay to go in like you do with it. It's open, you know. So just go there, go and have a look, just see how beautiful it actually is. And each year you're going to see how it grows because it is a baby woodland at the moment. Yeah. But it's the difference from 2 years ago to now is amazing.
I mean, even from when we went for the event, when we had our gathering, the difference from then to now, you can see the difference already. You know, it might be only a foot or so, but you can see the difference.
Oh yeah, and it's going to continue to go. Exactly. People are like going to watch that journey as well. Okay, diolch yn fawr both. Welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm talking to Geth Thomas of Wrexham Chauffeurs today. Geth, can you tell us a little bit about the business, how you started and how you're plugged into Wrexham?
I started the company way back in June 2019. I had been working for another company with similar business ethos. We had a conversation just before COVID. Business was on a downward trajectory, so I decided to jump and start myself. So I went home from that meeting, registered the company, and then really quickly, within about a week or two, Mr. Boris Johnson, he said, everybody stop at home. And I thought, wow, what an amazing opportunity. Instead of closing the company, I decided to flip it upside down and who had to travel. And I found chemotherapy patients, I found patients with kidney dialysis, and then we got in touch with the solicitors for white glove document delivery service, we got in touch with florists, we got in touch with jewellers for high value jewellery repairs, museums for artefacts, and I thought, we've got an amazing business that can diversify, and that was the birth of the company. So in 2023, we were Best Wedding Chauffeur Transport. Since then, we've just won business awards over and over at a national level now. This is not just here in Wrexham. This is competing with the big boys across the UK, and Wrexham Chauffeurs is getting that recognition that it deserves. We've been to award ceremonies in London. We just missed at the last point. So when people look at our reviews on the review platforms, the typical platforms out there, we're amongst the best in the business. And that's shown by being in the Guild of Professional Chauffeurs. We've been vetted by the best in the business, by the industry leaders, where only the creme de la creme get that recognition. I'm really proud to be wearing the Guild of Chauffeurs badge, indicating that when you book us, you get the best of the best.
Tell me about the cars.
All Mercedes, all the modern models. So we've got entry-level saloon cars for regular airport transfers. We've got estate cars if you're lucky enough to be going on a cruise and you've got big luggage. Then we've got the S-Class Mercedes, which is just opulence, it's just extravagance, it's luxury, reclining seats in the back of the car, heated and cooled. You've got privacy with flag screens, double sunroof. After that, you've got bigger vehicles, the minibuses, the Vitos and the V-classes, all the way up to executive coaches carrying 53 passengers. But when you get whisked away and you want urgent transport, we'll just arrange a helicopter for you. We can arrange your international travel. So we had recently a client fly to Washington to speak at a conference, and we arranged his chauffeur in Washington, looked after him for the week. We're like a one-stop shop, and we can look after it all. The biggest one-off job that we've had was probably women's football at Wrexham, where the organiser had booked with a company in Cardiff, who then subcontracted us, because we're based here in Wrexham, to look after the travel on the night and help the firm in Cardiff out. So there was over £1 million worth of cars there at that event, going to all corners of the UK. And this was all the elite players. So that was a huge event. We've also done the Polish football team when they came to North Wales. They stayed in Snowdonia. So we had 150 people to move. Again, that was through a contract in South Wales. And this is how the network works. This is how we do the overseas stuff. They've got a network of contacts all across the world. It's not just little us here in Wrexham, we're part of something worldwide here.
And you've got some amazing reviews on Google and Trustpilot. I did have a quick look. People saying how professional the service is, how friendly. You've given people tours of Wrexham.
Tours of Wrexham, and we siarad Cymraeg yn rhugl, so we're part of the Cynnig Cymraeg through the Welsh scheme. We're also part of the Snowdonia Ambassador scheme, the Wrexham Ambassador scheme. We've got the Conway and the Denbighshire Ambassador scheme, so we're very tied into the local area. We're relevant and we know what we're doing, and if somebody wants that experience here in Wrexham, here in North Wales, find us. We'll look after you. Easiest way to get in touch is obviously online. So there's a website, Wrexham Chauffeurs. All the information is on there, terms and conditions on there, cancellations, refunds. You can see all the documentation, all the licenses, the insurances, all the certificates are on there. You can see the cars. It will instantly give you a price. If you enter in your pickup, your drop-off date and time, how many passengers, calculates the price there and then, so you know what you're doing. It will save the quotation, email the quotation. All the information is on the website. But if people want to contact me, we've got an office landline. They can call during office hours, and if I'm available, we'll pick up, have a chat.
So really easy to get in touch with you, Gareth, and amazing to hear a local homegrown business doing so well. I wish you all the best for the future.
Lovely.
And
thank you, Carrie.
all people support Wrexham Chauffeurs.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Diolch.